wonderful presentation. Well, actually, we've got two, one after the other, which are really exciting, I think, and I hope you enjoy them both. Janelle Dimas this morning said, different mountains we stand on bring different perspectives. And to follow what Janelle was saying, they also bring different forms of expertise. And I think one area of expertise that we really need to centre is, of course, the expertise of folks that have actually lived on a basic income. And that's what this panel is about, is reflecting, talking with, and thinking with the expertise of people that have lived with a basic income. And so we've got folks in the room who are going to share their expertise, and then we've got folks online that are going to share expertise. So we're drawing on experiences of basic income from around the world. And to begin with, we're going to show a short clip from folks who have been receiving what has been called the Compton Pledge. So this is a guaranteed income initiative giving low income residents of Compton payments, regular payments that differ depending on, if you're looking after kids and so on, for 2 years. So we'll show you some of the reflections of the experience of folks receiving the Compton Pledge. Then we're going to talk with Josh and Jesse in the room, and then we're going to head to Sarath, Davala and Hilda Latour to talk through with folks from Kenya and folks from India about their experiences of the basic incomes they've received. So I'll share you this video now.
My name is Kaisha McCann. I am a participant and a resident of the city of Compton. I've actually been living in Compton a little over 9 years now, going on 10 years. These funds, they came at a time where not only was I, planning for this life with my daughter and our family, but also having the ambition to also want to purchase a home, so even though it's like all this time of uncertainty, that's something that is a definite goal of mine. And I started to feel with my income at work, and then my normal bills, and then also the responsibility and the payments and the bills I will have with my daughter, sort of feeling like I don't know if this is something that's even going to be possible. But with those extra funds, I've actually been able to save. And that's something that has been really, really big for me, is just trying to make sure that I'm saving. So I've been able to save those funds. It has taken off a tremendous amount of stress. And it also has just added like that fire under me to let me know that you will be able to get out of your current situation. That you will be able to be a homeowner at some point, and then just those funds, like it just definitely has just taken, like I said, taken a bunch of stress off of my shoulders. It has made like a significant impact regarding like paying their bills, or if they were behind on bills, being able to catch up. So it has definitely helped a lot of people. But for me, it's not only about the finances, it's also about the different resources that are available. It has just been such a big help.
Hello, my name is Deshaun Watkins, and the Compton Pledge has really helped me out during COVID. COVID really affected Compton Mania, my business. March 7th, we had 150 people in the backyard, really gaining steam. We successfully brought wrestling to the hood, Compton Mania. And when COVID hit, it really stripped everything down. So thanks to the Compton Pledge giving me the $225 every 2 weeks, I've been able to help my digital presence. And that's how much of a blessing it has been to me, just on that level. And just to talk about how I want to affect my city, is I wanted to basically give another option for kids and also for adults, a way that can bring the city together. So Compton Pledge has been amazing to me in that area. Also, I have a lot of other things going, and it's really tough also being in Compton. Just the water bill alone is about like $300 a month. That's just the high property taxes. So it's really hard sometimes just to make ends meet. So this is why the Compton Pledge is really good. It's really helping with businesses and all those other different things. So thank you guys and blessings.
My name is Rosalind Ford, and I'm gonna say 50-50. I grew up here in Compton. I'm a struggling mother. I do the best that I can with what I have. I am still looking for different jobs to support my children, because now my children are getting bigger. You got my teenage boy needing different things for football. My daughter is into different things and stuff, and I'm only able to provide the needs and not the wants. And I wish I could provide more of the wants, but it came when, luckily the pandemic, it wasn't cutting a lot of the bills off, but everything was like adding up where I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know. I'm gonna go cut my hair off or something like that, because it's very stressful. So it came in a time where, I'm gonna be honest, my water bill exceeded. Like, what happened? My cable bill was a couple of months behind. Edison was getting there. And just everything else, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But when I got the first deposit, I'm like, I'm running to the water company. I'm paying Edison. I paid everything that I need to do, and then had a little something extra to change to spend on my children.
My name's Tiffany Hosley. I grew up in Compton. I'm a native from birth in the city of Compton, and I'm a mother of two. In October, I ended up getting sick, and I had to have heart surgery. And so I spent October and November. My first Thanksgiving, I spent in a hospital. So it added to the extra stress. The kids were scared, not knowing what was going to happen with me. I was scared. Like, I was healthy one day, and now we're talking about open heart surgery. For me, it's been very helpful, because I have to take 2 medications for my heart since the surgery, and insurance doesn't cover it. So one of the medications is $388. The other medication is $900. So that's an extra expense that I have to pay outside of my household expenses. And I wasn't able to do so, to be honest, just to know that it's some people here that care. It's some people here who are real humans with understanding and compassion. Like, we're humans just like everybody else. So just the fact that we could change the narrative to show that it's people doing good for good people, I think that would be one of the most important things. Most important thing.
Thank you. So I'm going to now turn to Jessie Gollum, and we've been so lucky with this Congress because Jessie has so generously allowed us to show her extraordinary work, which is around the room, which was done when Jessie was receiving a basic income as part of the Ontario trial between 2017 to 2018. So to you, Jessie, to share some of your expertise and of that time. Do you want us to do it there, or you want to come up? Yep, great.
Thank you so much, everybody who's here and virtually. What I want to bring to you today is a story and also a reminder. But first, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which we stand, the Yagara people and the Turrbal people. I wish to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I acknowledge the contemporary Queensland Aboriginal community who have survived invasion and dispossession and continue to maintain their identity, culture, and Indigenous rights. I want to thank you again so much. I'm truly humbled to be in the company of the leaders and experts from around the world on this issue. And I often wonder myself how the hell I got to be here. And really, it's a story of chance. I was in the right place at the right time. I won the lottery. I got randomly selected to be on the largest basic income pilot that has ever taken place in the world. It just happened that my city was the city that was a test site. And now you're all stuck with me. And the Ontario Basic Income Pilot took place in 2017 to 2018. And I remember I was just reading an article on social media about the pilot, how it was taking place in my city of Hamilton, Ontario, and how the only qualifying factor was that you needed to make less than $30,000 a year and you can receive up to $1,200 a month. And at that time, I was the definition of a starving artist in the gig economy. I was cobbling together several jobs in an effort to just barely survive. I had just escaped a financially and emotionally abusive long-term relationship. It took me 6 months to be able to afford to leave that shitty drummer. I had a toxic employer that exploited my time for no pay. So like, of course I was going to apply to be on the pilot. Who wouldn't? And I remember on the day I got that letter that informed me I would receive a basic income, it took me a full day for it to sink in, partly because I had to go to 3 other jobs that day. And I remember at the very end of the day driving home and just realizing that my rent would be covered each month, no matter what I did. And I started crying with relief at that thought. I was using basic income to start a business, and I was using basic income to get myself out of poverty and build a life that I would love, that would sustain me and ensure my future. And I promise you, it was working. My business was growing. But that opportunity got taken away from me and the 4,000 other people on the Ontario pilot, thanks to a new government that got elected. They lied to all of us. They promised they wouldn't cancel the basic income pilot, but the cancellation was the very first thing that they did. I had never been so furious in my life. I was determined to do anything I could possibly do to save the pilot with any resource I had. So I went out and I found the other basic income recipients. I asked them to tell me in their own words what they used basic income for. The answer to that question is what you see all around you right now in this physical and in the virtual exhibition. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. We're at the Basic Income Conference, and I'm going to say it again and again and again. We know this works. That's why we're here. I saw it work in my life. I saw it work in their lives. I'm standing here among the leaders and experts in the world who have proven time and time again that this works with your research, with your studies, with everything that you're doing. We know that it improves economies, it improves lives. It is a fundamental piece in the puzzle of the better worlds that we are imagining. But for me, this was always more than just an intellectual ideal. This was more than utopia for me. This is life or death. It was life or death for me back in 2018 when I was determined to fight and to tell those stories. It's life and death for me now. It is life or death for all of those people in the portrait series, and it is life or death for all of us. We watched a pandemic bring the entire world to its knees over the last 2 years. We're watching climate change ravage and destroy our homes, and we are living in a society where very few people are hoarding the wealth of the entire world at the expense and suffering of all of humanity. This is life or death for all of us. And one opportunity we have here, we're gathered from all corners of the planet in harmony and friendship to dream of that world, to work to build that better world. And we must go forth with courage to demand that better world and to see it manifest. And we do this because it is our right, because we cannot afford complacency, and because we are better than complacency. We are humans. We must demand the right for freedom and a just and equitable world for all. It is our right, it is our responsibility, and we must never stop fighting for it and never settle for anything less. So I'm determined now to continue my portrait series. I want to continue finding basic income recipients of all the basic income pilots and projects all over the world so that their stories may be heard. And I do not plan on stopping until we are all humans of basic income. May we have the courage to reject the status quo, to reject the destructive systems that are oppressing so many of us all over the world, because we are better than this. We deserve better than this. We are a courageous, creative, and intelligent species. We can make this dream come true for the future of humanity, because this is life or death. I was on that pilot, and it would have given me a better life if it hadn't been canceled. I saw my friends get out of poverty. Then I experienced the worst feeling in the world by watching us all fall back into poverty again. This is life or death. So I encourage you to listen to these stories, to look at those photos, and to remember the humans behind the wonderful and amazing ideas that we are discussing and debating at this conference. And may we all go forward in courage to build that better world for ourselves, for our children, and for our children's children. Thank you. Jessie.
Thank you. Thank you for being so generous to share those thoughts. Extremely critical. Thank you. Our next speaker is Josh Michie, who comes from someone's got to follow. It's you. Josh, who experienced Australia's natural experiment, if you like, of the basic income like temporary program that happened in 2020. We were talking about in the last session, where eligibility got easier, the payment increased, and mutual obligations got suspended. It moved towards a basic income, if you like. And Josh is just going to share a little bit about your experience of that period.
Super brief. I'll be very quick. I'm kind of a low-key guy. So I was a student in 2020. I'd been a basic income activist for 5 years at that point. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is it. This is what we've been fighting for. I got it. My brother got it. The pressure was relieved from both of us. And I just remember having a chat and thinking, all right, we've done it. Well, we didn't do it. The Liberal Party did. But I guess I used it on things like a new computer, bought some things that were just assets that would make my life better in the years to come, as I knew that my income would decrease eventually. I knew that it wasn't forever. And that's, I think, what I've got to say. It was good. I loved it. Let's go back.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you very much. And I mean, one interesting sort of overlap is how both were taken away. And I think that's important to remember. Okay, so now we're going to go online, and I'm going to hand over to our wonderful BN Global Chair, Sarath Davala, and Hilda de la Torre, who is going to take us through a discussion with colleagues from around the world, from both Kenya and from India, to share about their expertise and their experience of receiving the different forms of basic income that they did. So over to you, Sarath.
Thank you, Elise, and greetings to everyone who is watching. And thanks to technology, I think we are able to really bring together so many people from so many experiments on one stage. And thanks to the technology people who are managing this technology. And we are really, really grateful for this opportunity to share our experiences. Now, there are two experiments here. One is the Kenya experiment, which is being done by an organization called Mission Possible, and Mission Possible 2030. I would request Hilda to give a brief introduction to this experiment, and so that we can ask a few questions. After that, I'll give an introduction to the Indian experiment, which is called the Work-Free experiment, which is anchored in University of Bath, but being done in Hyderabad city. I will come to that later. Hilda, can you just give an introduction, and then we move on to asking questions to our people.
Yes, thank you, Sarath. I would like to start to repeat Jesse's words. We know it works, that's why we're here. And that's what Mission Possible is also about. We are not waiting for politicians anymore, nor do we need more evidence. We just want to distribute the money to the people. And that's how we started. And we started in a village, Kowiti A in Kenya, a remote rural area. And we started in a humble way to distribute $10 a month to 10 people that were selected by a raffle. And then we came across Impact Market, which is a blockchain project, a poverty relief blockchain project. And they promised us that they would have $400 for each individual, each adult in the village. But of course, it's a remote rural area, so not everyone has a smartphone. In fact, only 20 people have a smartphone in a village with around 500 adults. So together with the community, we thought of a creative way to reach that last mile. And we managed with them, collaborating with them, to reach every single adult that has a SIM card. So basically, people with a SIM card could borrow someone else's phone and collect and claim the money on their M-Pesa account. The project is at the moment, it is paused, which is very painful. But let's start with asking questions to the participants. We don't call them recipients, but participants, because we do it together with the community. I would like to start with Bessie. Bessie, can you share with us what it meant to you to get unconditional money on a regular basis? In our case, $7 a week. Please share with us what it did to you.
Okay, good morning. How are you? I'm Bessie. I'm from Kenya. The Kowiti community is specific. Okay, the basic income has been very, very relevant to me, being that I'm a mother of one and I'm a social worker by profession, but unemployed. So when I started getting the cash, it really helped me. Basically, just as the term goes, basic income, it was helpful in that I could, initially, I was just a housewife, nothing, just depending on my husband for survival. But once I started getting the cash, it has really helped me. And I can count it many times that it has helped me in such a way that my livelihoods at now, it's different from the way I was before getting the cash. I made a progress in my life in that I started a business. I sell grains, that is maize to be specific. I've been selling maize for the past like 8 months from the time we started getting the cash. So it has really helped me in that when I get the cash, I use the little and some I stock my business. So it has kept me going while I get the cash. I can take care of my bills without involving him as such. And it has also changed my thinking capacity in that I can save. We decided as a group that we have to save, we set aside 200 shillings so that at the end of this program, we can have something like we decided to buy a sheep or hen or something, animal in specific that will generate income. Because when we buy this chicken, with the time in a few months time, it will reproduce and we shall rely on it. Like maybe you can sell and you can also use it for survival purposes. And it has also helped me, like in our village, we don't really rely on income. Like we don't work, most of us don't work. So we rely on farm for everything. Like we can buy food, we use our products to buy food, you can exchange them. So farming has really improved in that. When it's drought, there is drought, we are near a river, so water is pumped. So the money also helps people to buy pipes, farmers to buy pipes so that they can pump water directly to their farms, so that even if there is drought, it doesn't end that we are not doing any farm farming during drought. So it has helped us in such a way that we can at least manage farming despite the drought. It has also helped us as a community as large, in that we can do our businesses with the comfort, in our comfort zone, basing that we can afford a meal. Like, for example, when we started, when the money ended, I think it was around March there. So it was really helpful. Until this time, people are really longing for it to come back, because you can imagine, like me, when I started the business, so it stopped because I didn't have income. I reached a point where I could consume the capital, because we don't have anything to survive on rather than farm and what have you. So it was really helpful to us, and we are really longing that it will come back soon, so that we can continue benefiting and also enabling the community at least to make a step. Like, for we also come from a place when it rains, it's really flooded. Floods is all over, to an extent that the houses, you just when you sleep, you just sleep. Maybe you just put your legs high. You can't sleep down or can't sleep. The beddings are wet. Everywhere is wet. So when we get that cash, at least we can find, when it's raining, we can find a way of removing that water, either by pumping, because at least we have the cash. We can hire people with generators to pump out the water for us, so that we can at least survive in a very good environment. That one will also help, because when you pump out the water, this area is prone to malaria. So when we pump out the water, at least we shall not be sick, rather than when the water, we don't have the cash to pump out the water. We can easily succumb to malaria, because you can imagine in a house where you are maybe a house of 7 and it's flooded everywhere, you can't sleep. So the rate of malaria will be very, very high. So just praying that it comes back very soon, because with the current government, life has really been hard to us, because we don't work. There is less opportunity for work, and those that are working, they don't want to retire. The government, they don't want to, they are not hiring youths, and those that are qualified. Corruption has also been rampant in this area. So we find it hard to earn a living basing on the government and basing on the benefits that the country has for its citizens. In that, for example, now the work opportunities are very few, and life is really, really hard. Things are very expensive. Economy is on a high rate. For example, we are buying goods at a very expensive amount. Like even a bar soap, which went for let's say like a year, is it a year or some months ago? We used to buy it at 100 shillings. That is, I think it's $1 there, 100 shillings. But for now, we are buying it at 200. The product is not even worth the amount that you are spending on it. It has been really affecting us, so in that we end up lacking those necessities, because we can't afford a bar soap. We can't afford even sugar, necessary goods. We can't afford them. Like oil, cooking oil, the price is very high. And that at times we go boiling our vegetables, we boil them, and maybe if you can afford milk, you put it. If you can't afford, you boil and have your meal like that. You just put salt and you have it, provided you have a meal. So that basic income was very, very important to us, and if it comes back soon, we shall really appreciate. And we also appreciate each and every person who is raising their hand towards that call, that may God always bless them, may they never lack. Okay, I think that is
Bessie,
it.
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Bessie,
Yes.
what changes have you seen in the food that people were consuming during the period that the money was coming? What changes in your home and what changes in your neighbors you have noticed about food?
The changes are is that I think the diet is at least balanced this time, in that you can afford maybe a loaf of bread, you can afford a 3 meal course. Generally, initially we could just have, maybe if we go for in so many communities, the best they can afford maybe twice is breakfast and maybe supper, of which that breakfast that they could afford was just tea, and supper, that is ugali and vegetables. But for now, I think it has changed. You can see, for example, when we get this money, I personally, my life really changed. It really changed. I cannot go without a loaf of bread or without anything that at least to support my to have a heavy breakfast, so that even if I don't have lunch, at least I have a heavy breakfast and I have maybe tea. Mostly we could consume strong tea, that is black, that is just water, tea leaves and sugar. But for now, I can't remember when I last tasted that tea, that black tea. I'm really grateful. And my diet has also improved in that I can't rely on vegetables alone. At least in a while I can eat even fish, can eat meat. And also with that savings that we saved, we've reared chicken. So when you feel like it's been enough, we've eaten vegetable for so long, we can just have a chicken because we have them. We got them from, that is UBI savings. Yeah, we
Bessie,
are rearing
absolutely.
chicken.
What you're saying, Bessie, is kind of experiences that in many villages we have also seen, that not only in terms of quantity, but also in terms of variety, that people eat different kinds of food. When you go to the marketplace with very limited amount of money, you buy very barely minimum bread and grain. But if you have a little extra cash, then you buy a little more vegetable, a little more meat, and oil maybe. In fact, I have seen in the villages in Madhya Pradesh that oil, normally they can't afford oil, but when they had this cash in their hand, they just go and pick up a little more oil. So that's wonderful. I think, shall we move to Kevin? Kevin is another participant here. Kevin, can you tell us what it meant to you to have an unconditional income and a regular income for a short period at least?
Thank you so much, Mr. Sarath. My name is Kevin. Like Brother Sarath has said, I am a beneficiary and I've been a beneficiary of basic income for the past around 1 year or so. And I've had good experience. First, and the one that I always go for is that with the basic income, I was able to move from the village and move to the nearby city to look for a job. And this enabled me to move because I could be able to pay house rent and also leave something for my family. I'm a married man with a baby, one child. So I was able to move out of the village and go to the city comfortably without worry, because I was sure that my family is receiving $7 per week. So they could afford to get food and put something on the table without my support. So that was the first thing that made me so happy and proud of basic income. Secondly, I also had money to be able to transit, to move, to pay bus fare and to call my family every single time and know how they are moving on. And that made me very happy. Yes.
So you're saying that this regular cash has made you confident to go, first of all, to leave the family and go to town and look for a job and also pay for your rent there. I think it has enabled you to do things that you have been wanting to do, right?
Right, right. This is
Wonderful,
that
wonderful.
is true. You know, I've been longing, but since I am a married and a family man, I could not move, because if I move, and you know, like she said before, it is not easy to find a job. Opportunities are very few. So if you have something in the pocket, you walk with your chest high, happy because the family has something to eat, and I also have something to eat and to pay rent. True, a lot of confidence in me.
Absolutely wonderful, wonderful. We have here Billy and Evans, who are also recipients, but also equally, they have been the main coordinators of the entire project. They took upon their shoulders all the challenges that came and went during this project. And I think Billy and Evans, can you share what you saw in the village happening that did not happen before? Yeah, I think that's fine. Evans.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Now, in the village, one thing that stands out for me that I've seen that was not there before is that the organization of the members and the cooperation of the members was not that much before UBI came in. We've realized that since we had regular meetings, you'll find that there could be discourse in other areas of development, and you'll find that the organizational structure of the village kind of improved. Decisions can be made when people are sitting together, they disagree to agree, and then eventually they come up with ways that they deem can help in improving their welfare. Now, having been a bit passionate about livelihoods of members, we realized that in the community before, livelihood was a challenge. You'll find that you walk around in the village and then somebody asks you for something like, just give me 100 bob, that is about $1 for sugar or something like that. But since the UBI came, you see people who are hopeful, people who are determined to improve their lives, and they have ideas that they can put into action to improve their livelihoods. That is some of the things that I've seen that wasn't there before in the village. Thank you.
Billy, I have a specific question for you, Billy. Normally, when we talk about an unconditional basic income everywhere with bureaucrats, politicians, middle class, they say that never give anything free without any conditions because the poor will drink it away. Did you see anything like that happening in your village?
Yes, it happens that those who are drinking will drink before you give them basic income when they have the money, and even after the money ends. So those who are drinking, in one way, it changed their lives, and I'll explain how it changed their lives. And to avoid that notion that they end up drinking, so I'll say something about it. So my name is Billy Juma, and I've been in the UBI program for roughly 4 years and above, and I've had an experience of being part of the participants and also overseeing the implementation of UBI program in Committee A, courtesy of Mission Possible 2030 and the impact market. I have seen a number of impacts as a community leader. One of them, it encouraged teamwork within the family and also within the community. At the family level, the husband and the wife would see it wise that they start doing something that would sustain them after the end of the program. And so the husband and the wife, nobody's having the time to think about the divorce because they're having a long-term plan to change the lives of their family. In other words, the divorce cases reduced in Committee A. Another impact I've seen it is reduced begging. I can give a close example from my mother. whom it is normal to send her money after a period of time. And whenever you delay to send her money, she could call just in good faith to remind you, just give me something. But after receiving the $7 per week, she would never call you to ask for money. She was independent on that money, and that one made her do her own things independently without frequently calling anybody for support. So I saw it reducing the begging on her part, because as a human being, that is begging. She's now having something to depend on as an individual. Another one, in the village, I saw the UBI result in the freedom of choice. You choose that which you want and do that which you want. That one was as a result of the unconditionality at the point of giving the money and the unconditionality at the point of receiving the money. Those who are giving the UBI people the money were giving it unconditionally. You are not instructed that you must buy a goat, you must do farming. Like, it is unfortunate that if you give somebody money and instruct him that you must do agriculture and you must go to the farm, somebody who has never stepped into the farm, it will end up in a different failure altogether. But because of the unconditionality of the universal basic income, we end up having a variety of impacts. One is the freedom of choice. You choose that which you want to do with the money. Like myself, I may have a desire to buy a clothes. Another person wants to do farming. Another one wants to take a child to school. They are free to do that one that they feel is affecting them. So we end up that the society is growing from the bottom. And the effect you can only realize when you are told and also when you see, which is good. Another impact I've seen is on the part of the political class. In Kenya, people are lured or are bribed by some small token to vote for a certain candidates. And so you cannot contest if you don't have money. So in Kenya, they give you $100, 100 Kenyan shillings, that is $1, to lure you to vote for a particular candidate. Now that in Kuwait, people are having the basic income, you cannot lure somebody with 100 Kenyan shillings when he's having 700 in his pocket and is sure of getting another 700 in the next week. So it made people to come to Kuwait in terms of policies. Like, what is it that you want? And then the leaders would listen to you. We want water projects, or we want good roads. You can only reason when you have something with you. And I've seen what is happening in the other parts of the world where people campaign on policies. It can happen even in Africa if people are empowered through the universal basic income.
Billy, thank you. That's really, really wonderful. I think there are several things that you're saying. I think one most important thing is that when citizens basic income, when it flows into the villages, ordinary citizens become empowered and they participate in the polity in a more empowered way rather than as helpless people and powerless people. Now we have just 15 minutes more. I will come back to all of you. Let's now go to India. We have our friends here, Vivek and Haima, who are the coordinators, and Sister Arugya, who's the coordinators of the project. And we have two participants of a work-free project, which I will briefly introduce. This is the project we have started in India. The project is called Work Free. It is a project targeting the waste collectors in the city who are living in 5 slums in the Hyderabad city. Now, because it is universal, even if a slum where we draw a boundary inside, if only 60% are waste collectors and 40% are people of other occupations, doesn't matter. That is the universal part of it. We draw a boundary of the particular colony and say everybody here will get. It's unconditional, it's universal, it's individual, it's hard cash deposited in their bank account, and it is periodic, which is the monthly. Now, before we go there, quickly, I would like to emphasize why listening to this voice of the participant is extremely important in basic income discussion. It is one thing to theorize, it is one thing to have good ideas and big ideas, and it is another thing to say the same things, to hear from the participants, the same things that we talk in theory. The power to say no is coming to again and again. From what Billy has said just now, the voter, the citizen has now the power to say no to corruption. He doesn't want to be corrupted. He wants to, he's empowered. And he's saying, give me water and not money. I don't want your silly $1. I'm not a beggar. I am an empowered citizen. Okay. And that's why this voice is extremely important. And that's why we are bringing this voice more and more into our BN congresses, where it's not just the academics and activists talking, but it is also the participants equally sharing what they are experiencing. I think that's extremely valuable, and we are grateful to those who are here. Okay, Vivek, shall we actually ask, we have Mr. Chennakeshavulu, who is one of the recipients of, one of the participants of the Work Free project. I will ask question in Telugu and tell you what exactly the question is. I'm going to ask him what he felt when he got unconditional money, and what he felt, what was his experience about this regularity. Getting something regularly is an antidote to insecurity. So I'm going to ask in Telugu. Chennakeshavulu garu, namaskaram andi. Vivek, his name is Chennakeshavulu. రంగనాయకులు గారు నమస్కారము. మిమ్మల్ని ఒక ప్రశ్న అడుగుతున్నాను. మీకు ఈ షరతులు లేకుండా వచ్చిన ఆదాయము ఇంతకు ముందు మీకు ఎప్పుడూ వచ్చి ఉండదు కదా, అయితే ఇది వచ్చినప్పుడు మీరు ఎలా ఫీల్ అయినారు?
చాలా సంతోషంగా ఫీల్ అయినాం సార్. మనం తిరిగి కట్టే డబ్బు కూడా కాదు ఇది, ఏదో మనకి ఫ్రీగా ఇస్తున్నారని చాలా సంతోషంగా ఫీల్ అవుతున్నాం సార్. సొంత ఖర్చులకి వాడుకోకుండా వ్యాపారం కోసం వాడుతున్నాం. ఆ వ్యాపారము 5 వస్తాలు తీసుకుంటే ఒక 1000 రూపాయలు అవుతుంది. ఆ 1000 రూపాయలని తిరిగి 2000 దాకా చేసుకుంటున్నాం సార్.
So
Vivek, can you translate that, please?
Yeah, I got it. So what Ranganayakli says is that before, the only source of other finance that they had was money, was interest loans, wherein they'd have to borrow money and they'd have to pay high rates of interest. And often the rates of interest that they'd have to pay, because most of these loans would be from informal sources, were so high that they'd end up being in a worse position than before. What Ranganayakli says is that with this basic income and the fact that they don't have to return the money, there was a great deal of happiness for him and his community.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I think in other pilots also we have seen that basic income and people having liquidity in their hand actually disrupts the relationship between the loan sharks and their victims. So it completely disrupts this. They try to depend less on them. So I think Mr. Ranganayakulu has meant basically that was the point. So Ranganayakulu garu, inkoka prashna meeku. Vivek, can you also come into the frame so that everybody can see you when you are translating? Yeah. We can't see you. Yeah. మీరు ఈ డబ్బులు ప్రతి వాళ్ళకి వచ్చినాయి కదా, మీ బస్తీలో ప్రతి వాళ్ళకి ప్రతి నెల వస్తుంది. అయితే మీ బస్తీలో మీరు ప్రజలు ఖర్చు పెట్టే విధానంలో ఎలాంటి మార్పులు చూసినారు మీరు? What changes have you seen in people's spending behavior around you, or in general in the slum that you live? the settlement that you live, what are the changes? Chapandi.
ఆ బస్తీలో ఈ డబ్బుని ఎట్లా ఆదా చేసుకోవాలని చాలా జాగ్రత్తగా స్కూల్ పిల్లలకు కానీ లేదా ఏదన్నా కిరాయి కట్టుకోవాలన్నా కరెంటు బిల్లు కట్టుకోవాలన్నా చాలా జాగ్రత్తగా అందరూ మా బస్తీలో గడ్డి బుల్లిపూడిసల బస్తీ మాది. ఆ బస్తీలో మాత్రం చాలా కంట్రోల్ గా ఉన్నాం సార్.
ఏం మార్పులు వచ్చినాయి?
మార్పులు వచ్చినాయి సార్ మాకు.
ఏంటి?
కరెంటు బిల్లు కట్టుకోవాలంటే ఏడో అప్పు తెచ్చుకుంటారు. ఆ అప్పు లేకుండా ఈ సంస్థ నుంచి వచ్చే డబ్బు ఆదాయం సార్.
So what Rangana actually says is that in his slum, which is a slum called Pilikochila Basti in the Gatyanaram area of Hyderabad, before they to meet basic expenses, they'd often have to take loans. So to meet expenses such as paying electricity bill or school fees, or even paying rent, their household rent, they'd often have to take small loans and stuff like that to be able to make ends meet on a monthly basis. But with this assured income that the project is providing them, they're able to prevent having to take those loans, and they're able to spend their finance. What he feels is that the main change that is taking place is that people are able to budget a lot more carefully and able to spend a lot more carefully. So the usage of finance is something that, since this is a very, in this world, a very precious resource that they're getting, basic income every month, they're able to strategize and really budget in a way that they're able to cover their expenses without having to borrow more.
Excellent. Amma nee pere amma?
Namaste sir.
Namaste amma, namaste. నాగరాజమ్మ, ఇప్పుడు మీకు 4 నెలలు 5 నెలల నుంచి ప్రతి నెల వస్తున్నాయి కదా డబ్బులు. సో మీ అనుభవం ఏంటో చెప్తారా? మీకు ఎలా అనిపిస్తున్నది? మీరు ఏం చేశారు? ఏమైనా మార్పులు వచ్చినాయా మీ ఖర్చు పెట్టే దాంట్లో?
సంతోషంగా ఉంది సార్. మాకు ఈ డబ్బు రావడం వల్ల మాకు చాలా, అంటే మా ఒక్కరికే కాదు, మా బస్తీ వాళ్ళకి అందరికీ చాలా సంతోషంగా ఉంది. ఎందుకంటే ఎవరైనా ఒక డబ్బులు ఇస్తే మళ్ళీ లోన్ కట్టాలి, వడ్డీ వేసుకొని అంతకన్నా ఇంకెక్కువ కట్టాలి, అంత కష్టపడతారు. కానీ ఫ్రీగా ఇస్తున్న డబ్బు కాబట్టి మేము చేసే ఖర్చు పెట్టుకుంటున్నాము. మాకు మంచిగా ఉంది.
So I asked her what her own experience.
మా బస్తీలో ముసలోళ్ళు ఉన్నారు. మా బస్తీలో చాలా మంది ముసలోళ్ళు ఉన్నారు సార్. ఆ ముసలోళ్ళకి అసలు డబ్బులు ఉండేవి కావు. వాళ్ళు చాయ్ తాగదామన్నా డబ్బులు ఉండేవి కావు. వాళ్ళు స్వేచ్ఛ ఉండేది కదా, చాలా ఇబ్బంది పడేటోళ్ళు, ఏడ్చేటోళ్ళు. వాళ్ళు ఇప్పుడు సంతోషంగా నెల రాగానే వచ్చి డబ్బులు పడ్డాయమ్మా అని అడిగి తీసుకొని డబ్బులు సొంతంగా ఖర్చు పెట్టుకుంటున్నారు.
Yeah, it's a question of dignity. Vivek, can you just
Nagarajamma is from a basti,
Mudraj Basti.
So Nagarajamma is from a basti called Mudraj Basti or Mudraj Colony. It's in the higher Panjara area of Hyderabad. And most of the people there are garbage collectors too. So what she says is that not just for her, but for the people in the community, there's a great deal of happiness when she terms it free money. So money without interest, this opportunity for money to receive money without interest came about. Because before this, they'd have to take out loans to meet basic expenses, and paying back those loans in itself would often require more loans. But here they have the freedom to, they're receiving money without any restrictions, without any real risk later on. But they're also free to use the money as they wish. And that is a big benefit from this process, because and Nagarajamma says that there are a lot of elderly people in our community, and people who don't have any sort of income, they're unable to go to work, and even to buy a cup of tea is very difficult for them, because they literally have no source of income and they're dependent on other people. But with this regular monthly source of income, so Nagarajamma and Rangana actually are what we call community representatives in their local slums. And they tell people when the money is coming into their bank account. So people come every month, the elderly come to her every month to check up whether their money has come. they go to the banks, withdraw their own money and spend it on whatever they like. So they're able to survive with this money. So there's a great deal of happiness and relief amongst a lot of people in the community.
I think that the question of elderly, I think, is so important. I think it's a question of their dignity, and even to buy their medications or buy a cup of tea, as you say, they have to ask their children, and literally they are beggars. So I think this gives them a sense of dignity that they can go and buy their own medicines. I've seen first thing elderly people do is go and buy their medicines. Vivek and Haima, we have another 2-3 minutes. Can you quickly or briefly share what you saw in these 5 months in the community? We have maybe just take 1 minute each. Or maybe Vivek, just you summarize what you saw so that we have very limited time, because I want to give Philip an opportunity to ask a question in the end.
So yeah, I think one real big change that has happened in this community is that it has really brought people together. The basic income, the fact that the whole community is, so in all these 5 communities, every individual is getting the basic income, and that is sort of a uniting force amongst all of them. The process of issuing basic income, and through the process, we often have meetings with the communities. There are spaces that have developed for them to meet, to chat, to get to know each other, to really share their issues and problems, and actually come up with more decisions and ways in which they can work together. So it's been a real uniting force for a lot of members in the community. We've seen people who've never really come out before and met their neighbors or talked to the neighbors really come out and take an active role, because essentially this income is theirs, and by taking ownership of the income that they're now receiving and the freedom that they have to spend on it, whatever way they wish, they're really able to make decisions with a great deal of decisions that can really benefit them in ways that they see fit, rather than outsiders coming to them and telling them how they should spend their money, or rather than a government telling them how exactly they should prove that they've spent their money. There's a great deal of freedom in that's sort of developed amongst community members in not just spending patterns, but also in expressing what they want and their hopes as well. And I think that's a really big change. I think the basic income has really opened up conversation and opened up people, not just the community members, but even us as workers, individuals who are working with the communities on a daily basis, given us ways in which we can connect with the communities more deeply, because we're not just talking about money transfers, we're also talking about hopes and dreams and change, and we're able to listen to each other and really communicate in much more deeper ways than I think a lot of other methods of community relief or community work really are able to get at.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much, Vivek. I think we are almost up. And if Philip is around, Philip, all of you know that he's one of our greatest and dearest philosophers who proposed this idea in 1986. He along with a colleague, he wrote this paper, Capitalist Road to Communism. So you're witnessing your own idea, simple but radical idea, Philip. I would like to, all of us would like to hear what is your response to this. And after this, we will hand over your session back to you.
Yes, I think listening to that, I find it all very moving. At the same time, of course, it makes us realize, and that will have been the case also repeatedly in this Congress, that situations are very different from country to country, and that the introduction of a basic income will mean very different things in different circumstances. But all over the world, there is something common, which is related to this, the basic security that is also a form of freedom that is given to everyone, and of course, in particular, to those who have least freedom today. And that was beautifully illustrated by several of the testimonies we just heard.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Philip, for being here in this session. I feel we have just warmed up to a wonderful discussion, but then unfortunately, always time is limited. Elise, back to you.
Goodness, I think all that could be really said is thank you. Thank you, Josh and Jessie, to Evans, to Bessie, to Kevin, to Billy, Vivek, Yajiri, Nagajama and Haima, and of course, Sarath and Hild. Thank you so much for such generosity, for letting us listen to your expertise and to learn from you. Thank you so much for your time and coming and sharing. And from all of us, a huge round of applause, please. Thank you.
Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Billy, Evans, Ranganaikulu.
Thank you.
Kevin and Bessie. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.